Allegations of corruption against the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, Ibrahim Magu, has recommended that the next head of the anti-corruption agency should come from outside of the police force. He made the recommendations on Friday after presenting to President Muhammadu Buhari a report by the panel set up to investigate allegations of corruption by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami linked to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, and the acting chairman, Ibrahim Magu. According to him, the four previous chairmen of the EFCC since inception were from the police, so an opportunity should be open to persons from other law enforcement or security agencies as provided in the EFCC Establishment Act of 2004. What impact will that have on the efficiency of the EFCC leadership? Can the same be said of the Inspector General of Police? Should that office be open to elections in a democratic setting? We'll analyze this in just a moment. Data feeds are coming through in one place simultaneously on all our social media platforms on channelstv.com, youtube.com/channelsweb. You can follow us on m.channelstv.com and on Apple, Android, Fire and Roku TV. Tweet at Gimba Umar CTV and use the hashtag State of the Nation. Let's get your thoughts in. Ebonyi State Governor David Umahi has defected from the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. Is no longer news, to the All Progressives Congress, the APC. The governor's defection comes after weeks of speculations that he had taken the decision to dump the opposition party for the ruling party. One of the reasons given by the governor for his defection is that the Southeast region has suffered what he describes as injustice in the PDP. What does this mean to the party in the build-up to the 2023 general elections when Nigerians go to the polls again? It's prime time here in Lagos, and this is State of the Nation. Welcome everyone in Nigeria and the rest of the world. I am Gimba Umar and this is State of the Nation. Justice Ayo Salami has recommended that the next head of the anti-corruption agency should come from outside the police force. He made the recommendations on Friday after presenting to President Muhammadu Buhari a report by the panel set up to investigate allegations of corruption by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami linked to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC acting chairman Ibrahim Magu. Justice Salami believes that this will help the Commission better reposition itself for greater effectiveness. Well, that perhaps is not the only government agency being proposed to have someone outside of the usual. The police has been suggested to be in that kitty as well, where it is looking at leadership of the Office of the Inspector General of Police, the IGP, should not be restricted to the police officers but open to a democratic process. Oladende Ario is a security expert who joins me to analyze this. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on State of the Nation at this point. But do you support that leadership of the leadership of the EFCC, as recommended by Justice Salami, be open to security agencies, possibly even further?
100%. What he did there is just prompting, or rather, a kind of ahead of me, express what I had in mind in my paper on reinventing policing in Nigeria. The lead thing there is that the head of the police should not be a career police officer. There are so many people around in Nigeria today, or Nigerians abroad, who have sundry training and expertise in security, especially civil security, who are well positioned. They have the experience, they have the contacts, and whatever is required to occupy the office of the IGP. So following the fact that the previous heads of EFCC, they've always been coming from the police, and unfortunately, they've always been ending their career, their tenure with scandals. I would advise that they look outside of the police. Remember, the man heading the customs wasn't a career officer. He's a retired army colonel, and he's done fantastically well.
But if you look at this critically, one wonders if Justice Salami himself, is it that he's losing faith in the Nigerian police force and officers who have been in the police force and have graduated and now, appointed into the office of the EFCC chairman, just like we saw Ribadu and the rest of them, Magu himself, the acting chairman of the EFCC?
Right.
Is the process, is the system losing faith in the Nigerian police force?
The system, the people, they've lost faith, okay? They've lost confidence in the Nigerian police system as it's presently structured. Okay, that was why in looking at the police post or pre and post NSAS protests, I came up with the conclusion that the formation as we have it is structurally defective, okay, lacking in institutional cohesion, and therefore, for all I care, also lacking in integrity, and it is not redeemable or reformable. That's why I'm talking of reinventing. And in reinventing,
how is that supposed to work?
I'm going to explain to you now. In reinventing, there will be a ceremonial decommissioning of the structure as it is, whereas they will still be giving opportunities to existing officers and men to reapply, okay, retaining their present positions, but of course, they will not have to rigorous and intense retraining that will be suitable for the new police, the people police that we have in mind.
Are you talking about the community policing that the government is proposing?
The plank on which things can work is community policing. Unfortunately, there have been so much noise about it. We've wasted so much money sending people abroad to go and take trainings or whatever, and then they've come back here, they've not added value. Why? The basics have been neglected. And when you neglect the basics, what you'll be doing is building something on nothing, which of course is a zero-sum game. The answer will always be zero.
Well, the President Buhari, we don't know what he's going to do with those recommendations now, but he has them in his possession from Justice Salami. But how is this going to work? Because the President said today, as a matter of fact, that he wants a Nigeria that is seen to be fighting corruption, not necessarily as a country that is corrupt, in quotes, as has been depicted by some national leaders, as a matter of fact. But how will this work if you have the EFCC on the one hand and then you have the police at the other hand? How do we harmonize these two institutions such that we're able to get the best leadership out of them?
Ordinarily, what EFCC is doing is a part of policing responsibility. So for me, that EFCC had to be carved out of or created.
Is that an anomaly?
It's an anomaly.
Should we scrap it?
I wouldn't mind, provided there will be a unit of the police that will be devoted now
to economic crime.
Purely on that. They had the SFU, Special Fraud Unit, in Mivatin in Ikoyi. Up until the time I had interface with them, they were doing well. I've not had any scandal around them. And I think instead of creating EFCC with all the budget and all of that, I would have preferred SFU is giving the bite and a new life to deliver value, which I'm sure the men there should be able to deliver without any qualms.
Do you, for instance, see that the office of the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, if President Buhari chooses to open it up as the recommendations have put it, how will that play out? Do you suppose that it will be elective? People will have to run for that office?
They may be elected or they may be appointed. It's not impossible. Like
which is better?
In the university
which one is better?
Well, we may not be able to throw it up for election, okay? Because who will forge electoral college? That's the big question. Who and who will be there to elect, whoever. But the way they do the university system, where when the office of the VC is vacant, those who feel that they are qualified or think they're qualified, they apply. Okay? And then there's a selection process that throws up, let me just say, the best of them all. In the same vein, there are professional people. What EFCC needs is not really operational issues, but management issues. There are people who have they've done so well with their lives. They've added value to their lives. They built their careers, and they will not be ready to tarnish their image and destroy their integrity they had built over the years if given a chance to run EFCC. Okay? And I will not hesitate to apply if they throw it open myself.
Do you believe there are officers in the EFCC today who are capable of running that institution?
I have no doubt about that. I'd rather say that within the police today, no matter what anybody may say, we still have the best of men and women in the police force. But unfortunately, there's a preponderance of the wrong elements within the police, and they have swallowed up the good elements. The same thing in EFCC. We used to have a lot of respect for EFCC, but not anymore. Too many stories are flying around them which are very unsavory and in very bad taste. So it is no longer possible for us to optimize the returns from our investment. We need to inject other people outside of the career officers.
Because I'm wondering if you're saying just what your submissions now, I mean, Ibrahim Magu is still being investigated, so
yes.
Until he's been convicted for those crimes, then we cannot categorically say that
absolutely.
Perhaps he should give in or move the other way.
But you must remember
for the police, what difference will it make in its efforts to, better guide an evolving community policing structure?
Thank you very much. As it is, if I'm to quote MD Yusuf, who headed a panel that was set up to examine reform of the police, he said it that the present workforce of the police is non-workable. He was an IG. He grew through the system. For him to have come with that conclusion, he should know what he's saying. Salih Ibrahim, if you remember, he was chief of army staff. After he had left the service, of course he was interviewed, and he said that the Nigerian army of that time that he headed, that at the time he was being interviewed, was an army of anything goes. Several things happened thereafter to prove him right. So in the same vein, we need people outside of career officers to head the police. Or of course, they must now be backed by a board of eminent Nigerians, which of course may include retired IGPs, DIGs or AIGs and all of that, to give them the necessary backup support and in an advisory capacity, whereby what we'll be having will be people's police to be owned by the people, and of course, it's being funded by the people as well. And that way, I can assure you, we may end up with the desired police that Nigeria has been yearning for.
So let me get your final word now. For the office of the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, what do you think must happen now? What would you advise if you were to advise the president? Because you're a security expert.
I wouldn't know what judgment will ultimately be passed on Ibrahim Magu. But number one, he had overstayed his welcome in acting capacity for over 4 years. Okay, so they should start looking outside the EFCC or outside the police for a replacement. They can call for nominations, they can be able to apply. And I can assure you there will be more than enough applicants from where they can make credible choice.
That's a good place to let it rest. Yeah. Most sincerely, thank you. Always a pleasure having you to discuss security issues with us here on State of the Nation. Oladendi Ario, of course, talking to us on State of the Nation. But when State of the Nation returns, it seems a race for the Igbos as the 2023 presidential election begins to see permutations. Dave Umahi, that's the governor of Ebonyi State, says that he is not interested in the presidency. We'll be back in just a moment. Join us again. It is 30 months before a new elected government takes over Aso Rock. The race for the 2023 elections is thickening amongst the Igbos as the ethnic group insists that it is clinging on the presidential or vice presidential ticket. Now, this precedence informs the recent defection of Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi from the People's Democratic Party. The insinuations are as such. But that happened, and Umahi's defection comes as a shock to the PDP and have become heavily condemned. How does this decamping or brighten the chances of the party ahead of the 2023 presidential elections pans out? The dissection of this will be done by Chukwuma Okenwa. He's a political analyst. He joins me from our Abuja studios. Want to thank you so much indeed for coming on State of the Nation, as well as Charles Otus, a political analyst. He joins us from Abakaliki, the Ebonyi State capital. Want to thank you both, gentlemen, for coming on State of the Nation. Let's start with you, Mr. Okenwa, in our Abuja studios. It's barely 2 years now, we know that, after the 2029 presidential elections, which saw Governor Dave Umahi return for a second term as governor. He's pitching tents with the ruling APC from the PDP. Are you surprised at this development?
Yeah, I would say that I'm very surprised, and that further confirms the absence of the basic foundation, ideological foundation of our polity. You know, we've seen over the time past how easy it is for people to switch from one party to another. And I've often wondered, why is it so? Because ideologies are meant to be very strong. Now, I've also wondered, if Nigerians were that flexible, why haven't we seen that shift in ideologies when it has to do with things like religion, maybe someone moving from Christianity to Islam or vice versa? Or perhaps in terms of the ethnic groups, I want to see more persons, like maybe an Igbo saying from henceforth, I'm no longer Igbo, I'm now going to be an Hausa. And so if such things are not really very easy in Nigeria, then how easy is it become over the years for people to defect from one political party to another? It confirms a basic problem we have in our polity, and that is the fact that there is lack of the basic foundation, ideological foundation in our polity. I would also want to see like more political leaders resign, as is consistent with global best practices, resign honorably for failing their people, rather than like the constant defection. That leaves our polity very much underdeveloped and in the infancy phase. So I would say I am shocked. And then coming from such a height, you know, such a reputable governor in the Southeast.
Mr. Otu, you're in Abakaliki, that's where your base is. You understand how the politics of that area is. Are you shocked about that development?
I'm not surprised because having spent some time in Ebonyi, and understood the dynamics of the politics going on. If you have followed the governor's body language, you really won't be surprised, Mr. Jimba. The rest of Nigerians, some Nigerians too, including his colleagues in the PDP, like Rivers governor, they have not expressed any surprise. This had been on for, the conversations have been on for a very long time, you know, and it does appear that because the APC primaries or APC World Congress is coming up, the governor finds this the most convenient time to defect because he needs to take the structure, and he has started doing that already by just waving a broomstick, just one broomstick, not a head of broom. And he's already putting people to be in charge of the party completely. And if you watch it, you know that it's not a discussion that started today. That's my reaction, please.
Do you believe that this is a selfish interest action that the governor has taken, because he has categorically come out to say that I am not interested in becoming president or vice president in 2023? And as a matter of fact, he said that by 2023, he would have been done with politics.
Thank you, Mr. Jimba. I don't think so, because by 2022, when the political system would have heated up, it would only appear foolish for a governor of his magnitude who is already serving a 2-year term. First, his background is that of the PDP. From the acting chairman to state chairman, he built one of the best party secretariats. Because of that, he became the deputy governor to the former governor for 4 years. Now he's running an 8-year tenure. And if at the end of the day he does all this and it doesn't take a shot at the presidency, I mean, he could only be talking to those who have not understood his antics or his game in politics. The likes of Nyesom Wike of Rivers State and others, who knows him better, being their colleagues, have said he's running, and he can't be denying that he's running for presidency at the moment. Otherwise, what is in it for the Southeast? If at the end of the day, he doesn't take a shot, there is nothing in it for the Southeast, Mr. Jimba.
Okay, Mr. Okenwa, Mr. Otu says that perhaps he has done the right thing to have defected. You seem to be neither here nor there on that. But let's get a clarification from you. When the governor said that he's hinging his defection on the fact that the the southeastern part of the country have suffered what he called injustice in the past political dispensations. Will it then be right to say that what Governor Dave Umahi has done now is to properly position that part of the country and put it in pole position to get the presidency, because that has been the agitation from your end of the country?
I would want to say that my own personal opinion, his defection is entirely selfish. And why did I say so? Perhaps Umahi has forgotten that under this PDP platform, we had several Igbo men that rose to the position of the Senate president. And supposing in 2019 that the PDP presidential candidate Atiku won, what that means is that an Igbo man should have been the vice president of Nigeria by now. Does that not in any way protect the interest of the Southeast? And then Umahi, who currently occupied the position as the chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, was he able to carry the other two governors, PDP governors in the region, along? Because over the time as the Southeast, the chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, we see him like lead conversations when it has to do with making press statements for the region. But this particular time, we've seen him all alone come to speak. And what I found very unfortunate also is that the other two PDP governors in the region at the moment, speaking about Governor Ugwai of Enugu State, and of course Ibazu of Abia State, have remained silent all of this while. So I do not know if they were duly consulted. But if you are talking about speaking on behalf of the Southeast, getting the Southeast to negotiate for presidency, were you able to consult with all the stakeholders, the youth stakeholders?
Can you hear me? My apologies. Let me just butt in on this one. Do you think that the Igbos are speaking with one voice? Are they united enough to present a presidential candidate or even a vice presidential candidate? We all saw what happened in 2019, where the former governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, ran for the vice presidential ticket with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar for the PDP on the PDP platform. But this is 2023, and we are looking towards 2023, and the Igbos want to get the presidency. Are you saying that it is out of place, what the governor did?
It's entirely out of place because as it is now, before now, the Saudis have always been known as a stronghold for PDP. But with the defection of Umahi, the Saudis are officially a battleground between the APC and PDP, where you have like two major parties, two PDP states and two APC states, you know, like going to like slug it out come 2023. So I believe that the permutation is not a good one. That's not the right step to have taken. I believe that what he should have done as the leader, as the chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, is to see how to like get all the governors to begin to speak with a one voice. Because just like you asked, whether the Igbos are united in terms of like constituting a political weight to demand that the presidency, you know, shift to the Southeast this time around. You know, with what we've seen over the time, we've not really seen the Igbos speak, and sometimes also like with the band IPOP group, you know, speaking up and, you know, threatening the chances of the Igbos to emerge politically, which I believe any reasonable Igbo person, you know, stands against that because it's a distraction from the Igbos emerging as part of one Nigeria and contributing to the polity. So over the time, I think what he should have been focused more on is how do we get the Igbos together to constitute a political weight and demand for what is ours. But let Umahi not forget that supposing maybe Igbos do not get there as the president, maybe in 2023, but then emerge as the vice president, then of course we are into that. And then what is also the assurance, because Umahi have been asked, okay, are we sure that it's not because of your purported or alleged presidential ambition that you actually taking this particular move? You've been a long-serving member of the PDP, and of course, you almost converted into a party affair, like having your brother.
That's a good place to let it rest.
Zonal Working Committee, and also your brother as the
Chukuma Okenwa,
Yes.
many thanks
So-
indeed. That's a place to let it rest. A political analyst joining us from Abuja studios. Many thanks indeed for talking to us, and also joining us from Abakaliki. Not very clear the pictures are. We do apologize for that. Charles Otu, a political analyst as well. Many thanks indeed to both of you gentlemen for talking to us here on State of the Nation, and to you who's been part of the show. Many thanks indeed for watching. I'm Gimba Umar. This is State of the Nation. Bye for now.